Welcome, I'm Nolan, your host, and today we're going to be talking about how to quit Kratom from the comfort of your own home. Now, it is Labor Day weekend. There are lots of bikers out there. They love their Harley Davidsons. So we're all good there, but you might hear them in the background. If you're anything like I was when I decided to quit, you might be terrified of the idea of having to check into a rehabilitation center for your addiction. This is not to say that they're not extremely helpful. They are, and if you're really struggling and you're trying to pursue other outlets for quitting, I really recommend that you check them out because they offer stable environment away from your regular responsibilities where you can confront and deal with your addiction. I don't want you to be afraid of them, but let's say that you feel like you are capable of quitting from home and you just want this addiction over and done with and you're sick of your dependency. So today we're going to be jumping into everything that you can do to live your best life and quit from home. As always, I'm your host Nolan. Everything that is in this video will most likely be covered in this here book. If you want to support my content, getting this really helps. So what do we need to quit from home? The short answer is we don't need anything except for an extreme amount of willpower. If you decide to quit from home, it's you and yourself alone that is going to make this happen. There isn't a better quit date than today. It's so tempting when you have all of this freedom to decide when to quit, to just push it off. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I have work on Monday. I'll do it on Friday night. Well, you know, I've got relatives coming and I don't want to be out of it for when they visit, so I may as well wait until after they come. Oh, well, I've got a date on Wednesday. So do you kind of see how the cycle repeats itself? It's really easy for you to get stuck in this loop of, well, I'll push it off. I'll do it tomorrow. Even though it may seem like your reasons for pushing off your quit date are backed by reasonable ideas, it's all your craving brain tricking you into keeping the addiction around. So that's the first step from quitting from home, is that you need enough willpower to say, today is the day. And there's a lot of ways that you can build up this willpower to quit from home. This brings us to our first lesson for preparing to quit from home. In order to build up that willpower, we need to come up with a list of things that we don't like about Kratom. So when I was a heavy user, I was probably using upwards of 30 plus grams of powdered Kratom a day. That's a lot to get down, let me tell you. I had to motivate myself to quit by coming up with, and it was pretty easy to come up with these reasons why I hated it. So I'll list mine and you have to come up with yours. And that's the only way that you can really build that motivation to quit. Because as I said in one of my other videos, if we don't think that Kratom is bad and bad for our lives and our life circumstances, then why would we ever want to quit it? Number one, we're going to get into some potty talk here. So we've definitely all graduated from middle school, so we're mature enough to talk about this. Constipation. I was really constipated, and I'm not going to go into any detail about this because I know that you may have just enjoyed your breakfast, or you're still enjoying it, or you're enjoying your lunch and dinner while watching this, but it was really bad. So that was a really, really easy way for me to say I would be so much better with Kratom out of my life than in it. It got to the point where I just didn't like going to the bathroom. The bathroom is supposed to be a fun and safe environment where you're kind of maybe not excited to go, but it's a little moment of relief. The next reason is a very obvious one, which is the money. Kratom is not cheap. In fact, over the period of a month, if you have a heavy addiction and you're watching your addiction spiral, you'll notice your bank account start to do this. So depending on how much it costs, how much you're buying it for, even if you're going through a vendor and you're buying it in bulk, it's extremely expensive. So what I would start to do, just as kind of a fun little game, is I would say, okay, how many sandwiches could I have purchased with the amount that I spent on Kratom this month? Or maybe more useful things, how much could I have put towards, a new laptop? We're using a $10 sandwich as an example here. I was probably spending the equivalent of about 20 sandwiches a month. So that's almost lunch every single day for 1 month. Another reason, hiding. I hated hiding my use. I hated hiding it from people that I loved. I hated hiding it from people that I was going on dates with. I just absolutely detested, despised, vehemently opposed that I had to hide my life and my true self from the people that I was the most intimate with. It sucked. And it feels so much better to be in a spot in your life where you don't have to hide that from people. You don't have to look them in the eyes and say, like, I say I'm one person, but the real person I am is downing tablespoons of this sludge multiple times a day. That leads us to our next reason, which is kind of tangential to the one that I just mentioned, which is that Kratom was a ball and chain because you had to bring it everywhere with you. You had to bring it on your camping trips. I had to bring it to work. I had to bring it to clubs. I had to bring it to the bar. I had to go into the bathroom to use it so that I wouldn't get withdrawals. It was just this cycle of madness that even though I knew it was so bad for me, I just couldn't break it. And as soon as I started putting all these reasons together, and I went, oh man, my life really would be so much better with this out of my life. That's when it truly clicked for me, and I went, oh great. So there are so many other reasons for you to quit, and I want you to come up with them, and I want you to write them all down on a piece of notebook paper on your computer, and I want you to study them. And I want you to think, if I didn't have Kratom, I wouldn't have to think about any of the things that I've written down that I hate about using it. I'm gonna move on with the video, but I cover a lot more reasons why you might wanna quit in my section titled Why We Quit. So that brings us to the practical side of quitting Kratom. So we've covered part of the mental side and how to prepare, but how do we actually do it? So when we're quitting from home, and this is assuming that we're not relying too heavily on medical support or prescription medication, which I strongly advise you talk to your doctor about, but assuming we're not relying too much on any of those things, so, inpatient rehabilitation, Suboxone clinics, or anything like that, we have to take stock of the resources and tools that we have. So the first practical tip to quitting from home is picking a method. So we have two methods that we can pick from. One is cold turkey, and the other is tapering. So I made a full video about tapering. It's a lengthy one, and it covers all of the charts that I included in my book. It covers all of the methods. I use Microsoft Paint to make it. I tried to make it fun and informative and not scary, because I know that quitting can feel kind of scary. I don't want that. I want it to feel like, oh great, I have an opportunity to better myself in my life, and I want you to feel that way as well. The two methods, cold turkey and tapering, I'll cover just briefly. So you have to pick one. Cold turkey is quitting all at once. It's great because you're cutting a tie. It's symbolic in a way, so you have this symbolic energy behind your quit. You're saying, I'm done with this. This is the last day I'm using it, and it's a clean break. However, because you're quitting Kratom so quickly and abruptly, your body has no time to adjust. The withdrawals may be more intense. It may be more difficult to manage your cravings. There's a fly on my camera, and it's about to go over the lens, so I'm gonna keep an eye on that. So cold turkey is great for a couple reasons, but it's not my preferred method. I preferred tapering because it allowed me to gradually reduce my dose and thus mitigate my withdrawal symptoms. It's why I cover it so much in my book. It's why I put so much research into it. Some people say they lack the self-control to taper, but if you're anything like me, you'll do whatever you can to at least try and minimize the difficulty of your quit. So there's a few different ways that you can taper. If you're deciding to taper, you need to figure out how. One is a really gradual step down. So we're talking really small reductions in your dosages throughout the day. This is good for mitigating withdrawals, but at the same time, it's also difficult to maintain self-control if you're doing it this way because you're drawing it out for so long. Instead, what some people like to do is they like to do bigger drops. So I'm just going to create a graph with my hand here. Your baseline dosage is how much you've been using. They do a big drop of about a gram or two, and then they wait. And they wait for their body to adjust, and then they do it again. I highly recommend you check out my tapering video for more information on this because I include all of the charts, all of the different methods, including one that I came up with. Anyway, now that we've covered the basic method for doing it and which of the two that you should pick, it's time to start thinking about how to motivate yourself to keep going with this. So, number one, looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. So you have to create that light at the end of the tunnel. There will be maybe a week or two where you're thinking, man, where is the light at the end of the tunnel? I can't see it. And it's your job to say, this is going to get better. This is going to pass. It's going to get better. It might take time. It might take a month. It might take 2 weeks. It might take 2 months. It might take 3 months. Don't stress yourself out by imagining a future in which you're still going through withdrawals and you're still either depressed or having having difficulties with your mental health, because it will only stress you out more. You have to look into a future in which that's all over and done with, because I really struggled for probably about, I want to say maybe even 3 months, 2 months at most. I used quite a bit, so that's understandable. But because I kept going, I finally got to a place where the withdrawals and the post-acute withdrawal symptoms weren't affecting me anymore. And I was able to build a life for myself that I'm proud of. I get to make videos supporting people and doing what I love. I have a great family, and now I have connections with people that I wouldn't have otherwise have had I maintained my relationship with Kratom. Now, more practical tips. So exercise. It's a non-starter. Try and find a way to at least sweat. At least start sweating in some way. And if you don't sweat, then that's fine too. At least get your exercise in. When I was quitting, I had this idea. I was like, wait a second. There's this free, in Harlem where I live, there was a free trial at a gym. And you could get 72 hours there. So I was like, okay, they have a sauna there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sign up for this free trial on the day that I quit, and I'm going to go to the sauna in the morning and the night every single day, and I'm going to get on a stationary bike and try and sweat it out. And like, granted, that was the most disgusting gym I've ever been in. It was just nasty. It had never been clean. It was like rotten and moldy, sweat everywhere. But it was amazing. I think there was one period of time in which I hadn't really slept for 48 hours, so it was probably 4 a.m. when the gym opened, and I went straight there at 4 a.m. and I got in the sauna for an hour. And getting in the sauna and exercising allowed me to get that sleep. Not only did it allow me to get that sleep, but I was like, I'm improving myself right now. I wouldn't have been doing this while I was on Kratom. I would have been in my bed watching Battlestar Galactica or something weird. And I wouldn't have even been appreciating it. I would not have been appreciating it as much as I do now when I watch something on TV. So another big one is music. I talked about this in my video on cravings. There's this cool effect in psychology. It's called the darling they're playing our tune effect. And what it means is that when we listen to a piece of music that we connect to emotionally, maybe it's from our past, childhood, a relationship, it brings us back to whatever emotions we felt when we first listened to that piece of music. When you're quitting, trying to replace the negative emotions that you experience from your cravings, withdrawals, and everything is so important, and music allows us to do that. So when you're quitting from home, you have to have as many tools as you can manage to have around you at your disposal, and music is a great one. So what I would do is, whenever I was really wanting to use again, I would put my headphones in and come up with a favorite playlist, maybe a really intense one, and I would turn up the volume, and I would just kind of try and sink into that. One of the amazing things about quitting, and yes, there are positives to what you're going to be going through, is that you have a heightened emotional sensitivity. So a lot of people report on forums and in research that the difference between their emotional state when they were on Kratom and afterwards is different, because they feel like there's nothing preventing them from feeling anymore. They're laughing, they're crying, they're happy, they're sad. So listening to music again is one of the most amazing ways to step into that. And it's your first little window into this life without Kratom. So it's an amazing tool for quitting from home. Another one is supplements. I go into detail on this in my book. But some of the ones that you can try out that people have had success with are black seed oil. You can try out vitamin C. I'm not a doctor. I never studied medicine. This is just an opinion. It's from research and other success stories online. People have success with ashwagandha. L-theanine is another big one. So do your own research. There's lots of resources online about people that have tried different supplements that have worked for them. Another one is meditation. A lot of us can't sit still. I have a hard time sitting still. I want to run around. I want to be doing something. I want to be, either on a hike or on my phone or making music or making videos or going to work or something like that. So meditation is difficult. And it can be harder when you are quitting because your brain is moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour. But that's exactly why meditation is so important, is because it gives you space, or at least it gives you a little wiggle room from the intrusive thoughts in your head that are telling you to use. And it allows you to separate your thoughts from your craving thoughts. I highly recommend at least trying it. Even if you're not spiritual, even if you don't practice a religion, it doesn't belong to anybody, meditation. It's for everybody. And I highly recommend you try it out. Another really good resource for quitting from home is nature. Nature is amazing. And I don't think I need to tell anybody that. It's really cool. We've got birds, bees, trees, plants, grasses, shrubs, woodpeckers, acorn woodpeckers, flowers. Amazing. And there have been studies that show that being in nature is a sort of natural antidepressant. Obviously, it's not going to be as effective as Kratom, but it's incredible to be able to step outside and at least try and distract yourself from what you're going through. So that's a lot of the practical tips. There's so much more to cover, so I think I'll probably make another video about this in the future. If you enjoy this content and you want to see more, please let me know. It's always nice to know if people are being helped by this kind of stuff. And then a way to support me is to pick up my book, Kicking Kratom, on Amazon. It's got lots of really helpful information that I put together. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next time, and I'll see you later.